They lied to you. They told you to fit in, to play nice, to follow the rules, to smile when you're burning inside, to nod your head even when your soul screams no. They told you to polish your image, fake your confidence, filter your truth, and shrink yourself into something safe, predictable, and acceptable. And you listened, but there's a price for that. A silent cost buried in the bones of every man who chose approval over authenticity. It's the ache of the unlived life, because here's the truth they never taught you. Success doesn't want your mask. It wants your fire. It demands your truth. It calls out for the unfiltered, unpolished, unbreakable core of who you really are. The world is full of echoes, but success only responds to a voice that is original. It doesn't respond to compliance. It doesn't move for imitation. It doesn't bow to those who chase perfection, only to those who live in purpose. And purpose is personal, it's raw, it's forged in the chaos of your pain and the clarity of your vision, and no one can hand it to you. You were not born to be a copy of someone else's dream. You were born to command the storm with the thunder in your own chest. History doesn't remember the people who blended in. It remembers the rebels, the believers, the ones who defied logic with unwavering faith in who they were. It remembers Lincoln, who stared down the weight of a broken nation and led with brutal conviction. It remembers Disney, whose own family told him he'd never make it, who went bankrupt, suffered nervous breakdowns, was laughed out of rooms, and kept dreaming. Why? Because he refused to abandon the real him, and that's the difference between people who live a legend and those who die with their potential still buried inside them. You think you're playing it smart by hiding. You think you're protecting something by staying small. You're not. You're betraying something sacred, your own destiny. You see, there's a version of you that the world hasn't met yet. Not the one who adapts to people's opinions. Not the one who waits for permission, the real you. The one who doesn't apologize for being too ambitious, too intense, too different. The one who's not afraid to look crazy because he sees something that hasn't been built yet. That version of you, that's the one success is waiting for, and you can't fake your way there. You can't trick life into handing you greatness while you wear a disguise. You have to show up fully, all of you. Not just the parts you've practiced, even the parts you've buried, even the parts that scare you, because here's the reality. The path to greatness isn't about becoming someone else. It's about becoming someone you used to be before the world talked you out of it. Before fear crept in, before doubt started whispering, before you looked around and started comparing your chapter 1 to someone else's chapter 20. Let me ask you something. Who were you before the world told you who to be? That's where your power is. That's where success is hiding. And the moment you reclaim that truth, the moment you stop negotiating your identity for temporary comfort, that's when life starts bending in your direction. The people you admire, the icons, the visionaries, the disruptors, they didn't find success by being acceptable. They found it by being undeniable. Edison failed 10,000 times not because he wanted to impress others, but because he had already seen the light before it existed. Ford was mocked for wanting to build a car for the common man, but he believed so completely in the vision that the noise didn't matter. That's belief in its purest form, not in the world, not in luck, but in yourself, and that belief, that's the beginning of all transformation. Not talent, not luck, not access, belief, conviction. A decision that the real you is enough, more than enough, to build an empire from nothing. But here's the catch. When you decide to show up as your full, authentic self, life will test you. It will ask, are you sure? It will throw storms at you, not because it hates you, but because it wants to know if you're serious. It wants to see if you're loyal to your soul, or just flirting with your greatness on the weekends. That's why so many never make it. Not because they're not capable, but because they're not committed. They never gave the world their real self. They only gave it a version they thought was safe. But safety never built skyscrapers. Comfort never launched revolutions. Do you think Martin Luther King Jr. played it safe? Do you think he watered down his voice to not offend anyone? No. He thundered truth into history and changed the course of humanity, not by being politically correct, but by being spiritually certain. Because success is not polite, it's not tidy, it's not comfortable, it's messy, it's bloody, it's vulnerable, and it's real, it requires you to rip off the mask, stare your own excuses in the face, and say, no more pretending, no more performing, no more waiting for someone else to validate what you already know in your bones. The real you has been screaming beneath the surface, clawing to get out, and you've been sedating him with doubt, procrastination, and lies you call logic. But logic won't build the life you were born for. Emotion will, purpose will, fire will, and fire doesn't ask for permission. It consumes, it transforms, it ignites. Let that fire loose, let it burn through every layer of self. Doubt that's kept you tame. Because until you bring your real self to the table, you will always feel like an imposter in your own life. You'll build a house out of glass beautiful from the outside, but fragile, empty, and ready to shatter with the first storm. And storms always come, but when you build with truth, with who you really are, that house becomes a fortress, and that's when you stop surviving and start leading.